In our last study, we watched the fall of Babylon, the city of man. We saw the roaring empire of human pride brought back down to the dust. But as the smoke clears over the Euphrates, the vision shifts. We move from the crashing noise of falling idols to something far more haunting. We enter the Oracle of Dumah, a prophecy of silence. There is a prophecy in Isaiah so short, so sparse, it takes only 4 lines to read. No armies, no fire, no dramatic fall of nations, just a voice calling out in the night, and a watchman who answers with a riddle. Isaiah doesn't call this a warning. He doesn't call it a vision. He calls it a burden of Dumah, a burden of silence. And if you understand what silence means in the Hebrew, not merely the absence of sound, but the severing of the human soul from its source, then you'll understand why this 4-line prophecy may be the most haunting passage in the entire book of Isaiah. To understand why this oracle is so short and so cryptic, we have to look at the inner meaning of the name Dumah. The name itself is rooted in the word dumam, which means a silent stone. There is a profound linguistic secret here. In the Hebrew language, the word for man is Adam. Adam is composed of 2 parts, the letter Aleph and the word Dam. The Aleph represents God, the vital soul, the spiritual connection to the infinite. The word Dam means blood, representing the animal soul, the raw physical existence. When the Aleph is present, you have Adam, a human being connected to the divine. But when the Aleph is removed, when the spiritual connection is severed, you are left only with the Dam, only the blood. The sages teach that Dumah represents the city of Adam after the spirit has fled. It is the prophecy of Edom, a world that has spilled so much blood that the blood itself has gone silent. When the world is filled with Dam but emptied of the Aleph, it becomes Dumah, a silent, heavy stone of history. It is out of this heavy, blood-soaked silence that a voice finally cries out. Consider the atmosphere in verse 11.
The burden of Dumah, he calls to me out of Seir, Watchman, what of the night? Watchman, what of the night?
The call comes from Seir, the mountain stronghold of Edom. But the name Seir carries a heavy double meaning. In its roots, it is linked to the word Seir, or hair, the very substance that becomes a sign of impurity in the laws of leprosy. In the ancient tradition, leprosy is the physical manifestation, bad speech. This is the corruption of a higher power. To see the potential of what Seir should have been, we look to the final songs of Moses in Deuteronomy 32 and 33. Here, speech is described as a life-giving force of nature. In Deuteronomy 32:2, Moses says, "My doctrine shall drop as the rain, my speech shall distill as the dew, as the small rain upon the tender herb, and as the showers upon the grass." In the original Hebrew, the word for showers is seirim. It shares the exact same root as Seir. Think about the weight of that connection. The very word Moses uses to describe the life-giving rain of the divine is the root of Edom's name. It means that the very landscape of Seir was linguistically encoded with the potential for blessing. Their very identity was built on the word for the rain that sustains life. This was the intended destiny of Seir, to be a place where speech falls like life-giving rain. This is confirmed in Deuteronomy 33:2, where Moses describes the light of revelation itself rising from that very place. The Lord came from Sinai, and rose up from Seir unto them. He shined forth from Mount Paran, and he came with 10,000s of saints. From his right hand went a fiery law for them. The tragedy of the Oracle of Dumah is that the speech which should have been like life-giving showers was corrupted into the silence of leprosy and spilled blood. The showers of Torah were replaced by the bitterness of serpents, meaning that even as the light of redemption begins to rise, the morning for the righteous is accompanied by a night for the wicked who continue to strike at the faithful. The speaker in Seir is looking to the watchman and asking twice, "What of the night?" The first time he asks, it represents the uncertainty of faith. It is the cry of a people under attack, feeling the same crisis described in Psalm 73. The psalmist admits, "My feet had almost stumbled, my steps had nearly slipped." Why? Because he saw the peace of the wicked while the faithful were plagued. It's a spiritual vertigo. You look at the world and the math doesn't add up. The dam, the blood, is rising, and the Aleph, the divine presence, feels silent. The night is that blinding doubt that comes when the enemies of the spirit seem to be winning while you are left holding a promise that hasn't been kept. The second time he asks, it is the agonizing question of Hester Panim, the hiding of the divine face. He is asking, "Watchman, how long will God remain silent? How much longer will he hide his face from our pain?" It is the plea for the silence of Dumah to finally be broken by a word from the king. But the answer that comes back is one of the most enigmatic sentences in the Bible. The watchman gives his report in verse 12.
The watchman said, "The morning comes, and also the night. If you will inquire, return, come."
The watchman doesn't offer a simple date or a clear victory. He speaks of a paradox. He says the morning is coming, but also the night. Think about the weight of that answer. It is a liminal space. It's that terrifying moment before a rescue when you can see the headlights of the help arriving, but the water is still rising around your neck. The watchman is telling us that redemption isn't a light switch. It's a collision of worlds. This is the not yet of history. Imagine the exile returning to a ruined Jerusalem. They are technically free, yet they are still under the thumb of a foreign empire. The morning has broken, but the shadow of the night hasn't moved. It's a bittersweet reality that requires a specific kind of prophetic grief, a heart that trembles for the fallen even when the judgment is just. You have to feel the exhaustion of the faithful who have done everything right. They have returned to the rock, they have purged the bad speech, and yet they are still being judged. The watchman sees the reality described in Deuteronomy 32, verse 31. "For their rock is not like our rock, even our enemies themselves being judges." It is a psychological torture, to be judged by those who are objectively wrong, to see the wicked sitting in the seats of power, drinking the wine of Sodom while you are still being threshed. The night phase of the morning is when God's silence feels the loudest because the solution is right there on the horizon, but it hasn't arrived yet. This is what the watchman sees in the night of Dumah, the reality described in Deuteronomy 32, verses 32 and 33. "For their vine is of the vine of Sodom, and of the field of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of Rosh, and they have bitter clusters. Their wine is the bitterness of serpents, and the bitterness of the ruthless cobras." He is telling you the morning is real, but the venom is still in the air. The judges are still holding court with the poison of dragons. This is the ultimate test of faith, not just believing in the dark, but staying faithful in the dawn when the shadows are still long and the enemies are still prospering. The watchman tells the seekers that if they really want to know the truth, they must keep inquiring. They must keep seeking. But the final command is the most important. Return and come. In the Hebrew roots of this text, the word for return is Teshuvah. It is a call to bring the Aleph back to the dam, to turn the bad speech of Seir back into the life-giving showers intended in Deuteronomy. The night only ends when the Adam is restored, and the distinction between the true rock and the false rock is made final. So what do we do with the silence of Dumah? We realize that the longest night is not an absence of God, but a silence meant to make us listen. An empire fell in Babylon, but a soul is being searched in Seir. The watchman is still at his post, and the morning is indeed coming. The burden of Dumah is a reminder that our speech creates our reality, that when we lose our spiritual connection, the Aleph, we are left only with the silence of spilled blood. But even in that silence, there is an invitation to inquire, to return, and to come. If this opened something in you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to go deeper into the Hebrew roots of Scripture, the next chapter is waiting for you. Until then, keep seeking the ancient paths.